Okay, headed to the antique show, the Schoharie antique show. It's twice a year. Emily and I actually hit this show in the fall when we were staying in Cherry Valley and did fairly well buying, and so we're excited. So we decided to go back. Okay, here's my load from the show. 2 books in the car, everything else here on the ground. As you can see, I bought quite a bit of stuff. So it's Schoharie, I believe, but you know, I stumble across this name all the time. Schoharie, Goharie, something Harry, something Sco, something, yeah, Schoharie. It's a little iffy weather today, so we decided it's like a three plus hour drive from where we were staying in the Finger Lakes. So we decided to get a hotel last night, which worked out really well, didn't it, Emily? Why did it work out so well?
Because we got Indian food.
Yes, we got Indian food, delicious Indian food. The first time we've had chicken tikka masala since a couple months ago when we were staying in Colorado. Now we had
Photobomb
we had dosas
in Santa Fe, which was
absolutely delicious. Delicious, but
it's a different
did not
thing.
get chicken tikka masala. So yeah, food was great. Now we're headed to the show and we're hoping to buy some good stuff. So the good thing about staying in a hotel is it made it a little bit more leisurely in the morning. Got a time to get the Breakfast of Champions, of course, on our way out of town. Not a bad drive from the hotel, about 40 minutes. Show is at a school, as you can see. Very, very crowded. Good line. Admission was $7. It's throughout the school, like down the hallways, in these little cubbyhole rooms, in the gymnasium, in the cafeteria. It was just a little bit everywhere. Kind of confusing for sure. A lot of good stuff, a lot of period stuff, a lot of primitive stuff. Some lesser stuff too, like any kind of antique show, but kind of some dealers vibe more like flea markety, but mostly just straightforward antique shows. Not as super high-end stuff like some of the walled shows I do, but definitely some cool stuff. Some dealers I know from walled shows were here too as well. But yeah, it's here. Here you can see the gymnasium, I guess. Parts of it were really crowded. I love that blanket chest. Not really doing blanket chest now. Look at that. That's a great idea for what to do with a potty chair, a dog watering bowl. But yeah, jewelry. A lot of paper, books, primitive, country, formal, a little bit of mix of everything. And this guy had a cool booth. Check him out. Yeah, it was spread out. It was spread out throughout the whole school. Parts of it got really crowded. Parts of it thinned out. It was really strange, but it seemed like a really good crowd. I didn't see as much buying as I would have liked. Okay, after that, we left the show. Had to drive through a little bit of nasty weather. It snowed really hard during the show, but it had cleared up by the time we left for the most part. We drove to the Tulip and Rose. Was on our way home, which is great. It's one of our favorite restaurants. Really cool vibe. It's in a small town of Franklin. My friend has an antique shop there too, but otherwise, not much going on in that town. The food is great. I got a Javanese breakfast, noodle breakfast with chicken satay. We got a side of fries to split. Oh man, that breakfast. That might be my favorite breakfast of all time. I love this breakfast. And Emily got the chicken shish sandwich, which was delicious too. One of the best ever. Of course, had to finish off with a Turkish Delight coffee. Then we went to my friend Blue Farm Phil's shop. He was just finishing up an online auction that he started, the first ever auction for them. But he was kind enough to let me in, and I poked around. I did buy one thing. Okay, so the Schoharie Antique Show. It's twice a year. We shopped it back in the fall when we were staying in Cherry Valley, New York. And now we are staying in Watkins Glen, which is in the Finger Lakes, which is much further west. So we got a hotel to make the travel in the morning a little bit easier. Plus, we really wanted to get Indian food because we hadn't had Indian food in a couple months. And then we got to hit our favorite place for lunch when we left the show. So yeah, we went to the Schoharie show, and let's see what we bought. First thing I bought is this carved, guy called it a humidor because it has this tin, but I think it's too short to actually put to store cigars. It might be more like an ashtray, but really cool thing. Carved wood with the dog saying on top. Great patina, late 1800s, I believe. Really cool thing. Same vendor had this fretwork carved box with like felt, but yeah, an early car, like a Model T type car. It's a Stengel up here, the car, and then on the side has Monty Scott. A lot of nice little details, but yeah, you don't see a lot of folk art things with cars, so I think that's really cool. Pretty excited with that. Emily actually found this Masonic Lodge thing, painted on wood, thin piece of plywood, probably like 1920 or so, but the best possible surface. You got to remember, plywood dates back to the late 1800s, about 1880s. So this is right around the turn of the century to the 1920s piece of plywood, but really great surface, cool subject matter, great colors, just displays really well. Neat sign that Emily found. Also bought this. I have a thing for forged tools, hand wrought iron tools instead of cast iron ones. I was hoping it was like fishing or nautical related, whaling maybe, but it's actually for harvesting ice, back when they used to chop ice out of rivers and lakes and then sell it later in the season when it got warmer. Pretty interesting industry if you've never heard of it, but yeah, before you could make ice, they harvested it from frozen lakes and rivers and kept it in dry storage until they could sell it in the later warmer months. Always buying redware. Love the form, love the color. It's priced right. Unfortunately, had hidden damage the dealer did not disclose. It was very dark in there. Realized it when I got it out into better light. Still a good form. Wasn't that much money, so which explains why it wasn't that much money. But yeah, I hate dealers like that. They didn't know it was damaged, but I think probably so. I've got some horror stories of that. My friend bought something really expensive in Broomfield once from a dealer that he actually did a little bit of business with over the years, and then the guy would not take a return back on it when he got it out into the light out of his dark booth. And you know, my friend never spent another dime with him. And so like some dealers are short-sighted like that. Like, I'm gonna rip someone off for a one-time, you know, profit and then not sell anything to them for the rest of their lives, rest of my lives. Is really dumb. I once bought a local advertising sign. I told a friend of mine I was looking for an advertising sign, that we knew there was about 20 of them around there, and he said he knew a guy who thought had it, and it was a pair of twin brothers. He went and asked twin A about the sign, and twin A said, oh, I don't have one, but twin B does. He saw twin B like a week later, said something to him, and he was like, oh, I just sold it 2 days ago to twin A. And my friend bought it from twin A at like a $50 profit. The guy made $50 off of it, buying it from his brother to sell it to my friend. My friend at the time spent thousands and thousands of dollars each year with this twin A. He never spent another dime with him. So twin A made 50 or 100 bucks and screwed himself out of, I don't know, $5,000 a year in sales for the next 10 years. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It happens. One of my other buys, I do have a thing for ships and bottles. This one's a little later, 1920s or so, and unfortunately not an American ship, judging by the flag they're flying in the background there, but really still great piece of folk art. The time and care that went into making these, and it is better than, like, a lot of them were like 1940s and later. This one's earlier than that, but like I said, not super early, not 19th century, but early 20th century, 1920 or so. Kind of cool thing. Emily found this too. This is probably a keeper for her personal collection, but a mini piece of redware. It was very reasonable, so that's cool. So then we went to Franklin, New York, which is the site of my friend Phil Warris's shop, and possibly Emily and I's favorite restaurant in all of New York, and possibly all of the country, Tulip and Rose. I got a wonderful breakfast. We always make a special trip to go to Franklin, A, to see my friend Phil and Blue Farm Phil, and B, to hit this restaurant. So if you have a chance, if it's an hour out of the way, hour and a half out of the way, we always go there. And Phil had just had an auction. He started an auction where they sell primarily like tribal things, African tribal things, and different other antiques from foreign antiques. But he had this in his shop, likely American, kind of cool piece, very sculptural, split at one time, and so they reinforced it with this old copper wire. Just a boot jack, you know, just a normal boot jack. Every boot jack ever looks like a face a little bit, you know, but I just love like the sculptural appeal of this. Really cool thing, and they loved it so much they kept using it. They repaired it to keep using it, make do repair to keep using it. So it does have the split. Could be re-glued, but that'd be silly. I'm gonna leave it as is. That's a really cool thing. So I don't know, that was my day. That was our trip. Expensive with the hotel, but I think worthwhile, and definitely worthwhile even if we didn't buy anything, because we got 2 great meals. And so that's a big part of antique traveling, is finding restaurants that you love and hitting them on the road, and finding stuff that you can't get locally. And we're here in Watkins Glen, and Watkins Glen unfortunately does not have an Indian restaurant, and the closest probably good Indian restaurant is well over an hour away, and we might hit that later on in our stay. But like I said, we hadn't had good Indian food in a couple months, or good tiki masala. We had paper dosa or dosas in a place in Santa Fe, which were wonderful, but not the Indian food that we were looking for. So yeah, that was our trip. Let me know in the comments below what you think about some of our buys and some of the stuff we saw in the antique shops. And if you enjoy following my nomadic antique journey, hit like and subscribe. Peace.